The galaxy was quiet, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. For many years there had been no great war. The alien empires watched each other from a distance, keeping their fleets close, but their weapons silent. Everyone wanted peace, or at least the appearance of peace. Trade ships moved between planets, carrying goods and messages. Space stations drifted in calm orbits. And the great powers of the galaxy believed this uneasy balance might last forever. But on a cold, distant edge of known space, that fragile calm began to break. Deep space sensors in dozens of star systems came alive with urgent alarms. A massive object had entered the galaxy from far beyond the mapped regions. It was moving fast, its path steady, its size unlike anything recorded before. This was not a natural body like a comet or asteroid. It was built. It was a ship. In the control rooms of alien fleets, officers leaned over their consoles, eyes wide. The readings made no sense. The ship was larger than any dreadnought, longer than the tallest space station, and heavier than the combined weight of entire battle groups. Its surface gave back almost no reflection, as if it swallowed the light around it. Some thought their scanners were broken, others prayed they were. Rumors moved even faster than the object. In the wide and endless channels of galactic communication, whispers began to spread. Some claimed it was a rogue AI from the dark ages of machine wars. Others said it was an ancient god returning to punish the living. But most simply asked one question: where did it come from? The answer was unexpected. It came from Earth, a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy, a place most had forgotten. Earth had no great fleets, no history of conquest. In the great maps of power, Earth was a minor world, known for sending small ships with trade goods and explorers. No one feared Earth until now. The alien council sent out diplomatic signals. Each message followed the same polite pattern: greetings, welcome, request for identification. The massive ship did not respond. No signal, no code, no sign of life, only movement, constant, steady, unchanging. Its course was clear. It was heading straight for the capital system of the Galactic Council. In the central halls of the council, leaders from dozens of species gathered. The air was heavy with worry. They argued about what to do. Some said to send a fleet to block it. Others warned that a first shot might cause a war. A few believed it might be peaceful and wanted to greet it with honor. But the silence of the ship felt dangerous. The council sent orders to all fleets near the border: watch, follow, but do not attack. Meanwhile, on distant border worlds, people looked up at their night skies and felt fear. They could not see the ship with their eyes, but they felt the stories crawling into their homes. Parents told children it was just a trade ship, but the tightness in their voices gave them away. The object moved closer every hour. Reports kept coming in. Each new detail was worse than the last. The ship's hull was not made of any known metal. Its armor could not be scanned through. Its engines burned brighter than suns, yet produced no heat signature that matched known physics. This was technology beyond the galaxy's standards. It was not just a ship, it was a statement. On a patrol station near the approach corridor, Commander Relka of the Varina Empire watched the readings with a mix of awe and dread. The station's scanners showed the ship's scale in perfect clarity, and the numbers were impossible. This thing, she whispered to her second officer, could carry an entire fleet inside it. Her second officer did not answer. He simply stared, as if watching a mountain float through space. The closer it came, the more fear spread. Merchants changed their routes. Civilian ships fled from the approach path. Some alien admirals began moving their warships into defensive positions. Others tried to act as if nothing was wrong, hoping the shadow of fear would pass. In the military channels, old recordings of Earth were played again and again. The images were harmless: green forests, blue oceans, small cities, smiling humans. The more the officers watched, the less they understood. How could a world like that build something like this? Some argued it was impossible. Others reminded them that humans were clever, dangerous when desperate, and known to survive against all odds. The first clear image of the ship came from a probe that drifted close to its path. The image showed a black, angular hull with massive gun batteries along its sides, glowing faintly in the cold dark. At the front, a name was written in sharp white letters, ESS Titan. The moment the image was broadcast across the galaxy, the name was burned into the minds of billions. Every hour, the Titan grew closer. Every hour, the galaxy grew more silent. Fleets moved like shadows, messages flew between empires, and the air in every command room was thick with tension. It was as if the galaxy itself was leaning back, making space for something unstoppable. And still, the Titan said nothing. No greeting, no warning, no explanation. Just the steady, unstoppable advance toward the heart of the galaxy. Somewhere in the deep void, its engines pulsed like the heartbeat of a predator, waiting for the right moment to strike. The ship moved like a shadow across the stars, silent but heavy with purpose. It did not drift. It did not wander. It cut through the void with the precision of a blade. Every sensor that tried to scan it returned strange results, as if the Titan was not fully there, as if parts of it existed somewhere else. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Navy had no idea what they were dealing with. Reports from the probe near the Titan's path showed only fragments of its design. The rest was hidden under layers of black armor that drank the light and bent it away. Entire star systems seemed to dim as the ship passed through them. The Council had given it a name now, not Titan, but the Shadow Fortress. That was the title whispered in military corridors, in dark meeting rooms, and in the panicked breath of citizens far from the front lines. No alien ship, no matter how advanced, had ever looked like this. Most dreadnoughts in the galaxy were symmetrical, built for intimidation as much as combat. The Titan was different. Its lines were sharp and uneven, like a predator grown in the wild rather than built in a shipyard. Its hull plates were layered like the scales of some ancient beast, overlapping for protection and strength. And then there were the weapons. They weren't just mounted along the sides. They were hidden in strange, shifting segments of the hull. At first, military analysts thought these shapes were part of the armor. Then one section slid open and revealed a gun barrel the size of a cruiser, glowing with a deep red light. The weapon closed again, vanishing back into the skin of the ship. It was a warning without words. Inside the ship, the human crew moved. With perfect discipline, they did not speak much. The Titan was not a place for casual conversation. Every officer knew their orders. Every engineer worked with the precision of someone who understood what was at stake. Captain Arya Kane stood on the command deck. Her eyes were fixed on the holographic map showing the Titan's path. It was marked in bright white, cutting through alien territory like a scar. She spoke in a calm, low voice to her officers. "Stay the course," she said. "They'll try to scare us before they dare to fight us." No one questioned her. She had led the ship through tests that would have broken lesser crews. The aliens watching from a distance couldn't see the humans. They could only see the silence of the Titan, the unbroken rhythm of its engines. And that silence worked like a weapon. It made admirals hesitate. It made commanders doubt their strategies. In a star system 3 jumps ahead, a fleet of the Syrinx Dominion waited. They had been ordered to intercept. The Syrinx ships were among the fastest in the galaxy, each one armed with plasma lances capable of burning through the thickest battleship hulls. Yet when their scans locked onto the Titan, the readings caused confusion. "Shields?" one officer asked. "Yes," replied another, "but not like ours. It's not an energy dome. It's something else." The numbers on the display shifted, rising and falling as if the Titan's defenses were alive, adapting with every scan. Syrinx commander hesitated. They could engage now, try to cripple the ship before it reached the capital. But every instinct told them that to fire first might be the last mistake they ever made. Instead, they shadowed the Titan from a safe distance, feeding data to the Galactic Council. That data only deepened the mystery. The Titan was slow compared to smaller warships, but its engines gave it infinite endurance. It did not need to stop for fuel. It did not need repairs. It simply kept going. A battleship that could never be outrun and never be worn down was a nightmare in military planning. Back on Earth, the truth was known only to a few. The Titan was the first of its kind, a weapon forged not in the bright shipyards of public record, but in hidden facilities buried deep under oceans and ice. The materials for its hull had been mined from asteroids rich in exotic elements. Some of those elements had never been found anywhere else in the galaxy. For 200 years, Earth had played the part of the harmless fringe world, trading, smiling, and learning. But under that mask, it had been watching, studying alien weapons, alien politics, alien mistakes. The Titan was the answer to every insult and every act of control the other empires had placed upon humanity. The alien empires did not know this history. They only knew what they saw. A dark giant advancing with no sign of fear. Every hour, it came closer to the capital system. Every hour. The council's debates grew more desperate. Some called for surrender. Others demanded the Titan be destroyed before it arrived. But no one could agree on how to do it. A fleet large enough to challenge it would leave the rest of the galaxy undefended. And there was a growing fear that even that fleet might not be enough. As the Titan crossed into the second defensive perimeter, new rumors began to spread. Stories claimed that the ship had a weapon that could erase entire planets in a single shot. Others swore they had seen it vanish and reappear during its journey, as if it could slip through space itself. Whether those rumors were true or not no longer mattered. The Titan's greatest weapon was not its guns or its armor. It was the terror it carried with it. That terror spread faster than light. And still, the ship moved forward, its engines burning with that steady, quiet power. The stars reflected off its black hull like cold fire. And every commander who saw it knew the same thing. If this was only the first ship Earth had built, the galaxy's future would never be the same. The Syrinx fleet had been ordered to make contact. Their warships formed a wide line across the approach corridor, engines burning hot, weapons primed but not yet aimed. In the darkness between the stars, the formation looked like a wall of fireflies waiting for the predator to arrive. The predator came. The Titan did not slow. Its engines burned with the same quiet, steady pulse as always. The black armor swallowed the light from the Syrinx ships, making the battleship seem even larger to the Syrinx. It was like watching a storm roll toward them, slow but unstoppable. From the flagship Veil Storm, Admiral Drevik opened a wide band channel. His voice was deep and cold. "Unidentified human vessel, you are entering restricted space. You will halt your advance and prepare for inspection." There was no reply. He repeated the order in 3 major trade languages, still nothing. The silence was heavier than any threat on the Veil Storm. Bridge officers shifted uneasily. One muttered, "Maybe they didn't hear us." Another whispered, "No." They heard. Drevik gave the signal for a show of force. One Syrinx destroyer broke formation and moved ahead, its weapons fully charged. It fired a short burst, a warning shot. A thin beam of searing plasma across the Titan's bow. The shot disappeared, not because it missed, but because it hit. The plasma splashed across an invisible layer on the Titan and scattered into harmless sparks. The layer shimmered once and was gone. As if it had been laughing at the attack, gasps filled the Syrinx bridge. Their weapons had pierced battleship armor before, but this human vessel had shrugged it off like rain. Drevik's jaw tightened. He had been given orders not to escalate, but in his mind, escalation was no longer a choice, it was survival. The Titan's response was almost polite. The black hull shifted in subtle ways, plates sliding apart, revealing deep red light within. The first weapon extended, its barrel long enough to rival the Syrinx destroyer's length. It made no sound in the vacuum, but every officer who saw it felt the same cold instinct. This is what death looks like. Drevik shouted, evasive. Break formation. But the order came too late. The Titan fired once. The beam was not bright, not the blinding flash of alien plasma weapons, but it was dense, pure energy held in a narrow line. It cut through the destroyer's shields, armor, and core in a single pass. The ship split silently in two, both halves drifting apart like broken toys. The Syrinx fleet froze. The Titan did not chase, did not gloat. It simply retracted its weapon and resumed its course. It was not a predator chasing prey. It was a force moving through the galaxy, indifferent to what it destroyed. In the Council's war room, the live feed from the Syrinx flagship played across massive screens. Leaders from dozens of species watched the single, perfect kill in silence. Some turned pale, others clenched their claws, fins, or talons. A voice finally broke the silence. "That wasn't a battle," one counselor said. "That was a demonstration." On the Veil Storm, Drevik struggled to regain control. His fleet had weapons ready, but no one wanted to be the next example. He opened the channel again, voice shaking despite his effort to keep it firm. "Human vessel Titan, this is your final warning. Alter course or face destruction." Still, there was no reply. One of his captains spoke privately. "Admiral, what if we can't destroy it?" Drevik didn't answer. He didn't have to. Everyone on the bridge already knew. Back aboard the Titan, Captain Arya Kane stood at the center of the command deck. She had not ordered the first strike out of rage. She had done it to send a message. The Syrinx were known for testing weakness. Earth had no intention of being tested twice. Her crew worked without speaking much. Their focus was absolute. Kane's voice was calm as she gave the next order. "Maintain course, ignore all further hails unless they fire." To her, this was not war yet. This was simply clearing a path across the galaxy. The footage of the Titan's first strike spread faster than any official broadcast. Smugglers, traitors, mercenaries, everyone was talking about it. The story grew with every retelling. Some said the Titan had vaporized the destroyer with a thought. Others claimed it could have destroyed the entire fleet in a single shot, but chose mercy. Mercy was not the word Kane would have used. She knew that when the Council finally decided to act, they would send far more than a scout fleet. The Titan would face thousands of ships, and when that day came, hesitation would be fatal. For now the Syrinx fleet kept its distance, shadowing the Titan like wolves following a bear too large to attack. Every few hours, Drevik considered another strike, but each time the image of the destroyed destroyer stopped him. On border worlds near the Titan's path, panic grew. Cities prepared for evacuation, cargo ports shut down, and planetary militias began drilling with whatever weapons they had. The galaxy had seen wars before, but nothing quite like this. A single ship moving with the inevitability of a falling star. When the Titan crossed into the next sector, the Syrinx finally broke off. Their ships turned back toward their own borders. The message they sent to the Council was short. "We made contact. We advise full mobilization." In the Council's chambers, the debate turned to fear. Theories filled the air. Was the Titan a prototype? Were there more on the way? If Earth had built one, could they build 10, 100? Some argued for immediate negotiation. Others demanded that the Titan be destroyed at any cost. But no one could agree on how to do it. Meanwhile, the Titan sailed onward, indifferent to the storm of fear behind it. Captain Kane stood at the observation deck, watching the stars pass like slow-burning embers. She thought of Earth, of the long years spent pretending to be harmless, and she thought of what would happen when they reached the capital. The moment the Syrinx fleet broke contact, the conga of what would happen when they reached the capital. The moment the Syrinx fleet broke contact, the rest of the galaxy knew what it meant. It wasn't just retreat, it was surrender without a word. Fleets didn't abandon their posts for no reason. Not unless they had seen something they could not fight. And the Titan had given them that reason in one shot. The human battleship moved forward, silent and steady, as if nothing had happened. But far behind it, the ripples of fear spread faster than its engines could carry it. Every military channel was buzzing with intercepted footage of the Syrinx destroyer's destruction. Every admiral, every warlord, every smuggler with a stolen comlink had seen it, and none of them could shake the same thought. If it can do that to a destroyer, what can it do to a fleet? The Council's capital system was still many light days away, but already defensive lines were forming. Smaller patrol fleets pulled back to join larger groups. Commanders began stockpiling fuel, ammunition, and whatever exotic tech they thought might give them an edge. Space yards worked at triple shifts, pulling old warships out of mothballs. But on the border world of Kael'tor, things moved too slowly. It was a proud industrial colony, its surface covered in vast steel cities and shipbuilding yards, and its orbit ringed with orbital defense stations. The Titan entered its outer scanning range just after local dawn. The Kael'tor Defense Network immediately sent an order: halt and identify. The Titan did not answer. The local planetary admiral, Vorkus Thane, was no diplomat. He had risen to power by fighting pirates and insurgents, and he believed in striking first. They think they can walk through our system like they own it, he said to his officers. Then we'll show them they've stepped into the wrong territory. Thane's fleet moved fast. 6 heavy cruisers and 12 frigates took position between the Titan and the planet. Each ship's engines flared bright, their shields humming to full strength. The orbital defense platforms turned their massive cannons toward the intruder. The Titan kept coming. Thane opened a private channel to the captain of his flagship. When it enters firing range, target its engines, cripple it before it gets close. Then we'll bring it into dock and strip it down to see what makes it tick. It never reached that point. When the Titan crossed the invisible threshold into weapons range, it slowed for the first time since entering the galaxy. Not much, just enough to make every Kael'tor officer think, for 1/10 second, that maybe it would stop. Instead, parts of its hull shifted, panels sliding open like the petals of a black flower, revealing rows of weapons hidden deep inside. The Kael'tor fleet opened fire. A storm of plasma bolts, railgun rounds, and missile barrages rushed toward the human ship. The space between them lit up with streaks of deadly light. The Titans' shields flared, not with the familiar shimmer of alien tech, but with a rippling distortion that seemed to bend the shots away. Some projectiles vanished entirely, swallowed into invisible folds of energy. The rest struck harmlessly and scattered. The return fire came with terrifying precision. The Titan's guns fired in perfect unison. Each beam of energy lanced out like a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. The first shot cut through a frigate's bridge, killing its command in an instant. The second crippled a cruiser's engines, sending it drifting into the path of an orbital defense platform's crossfire. The third, fourth, and fifth beams ripped the platforms apart one by one, their explosions lighting the darkness like dying suns. In less than 60 seconds, the Kael'tor defense line was broken. Panic spread through the surviving ships. Some turned to flee, others tried to regroup, but the Titan didn't chase them. It wasn't here to hunt stragglers. It was here for the planet. The largest gun on the Titan's prow began to charge. Its core glowed with a cold white light. The surface of Kael'tor's capital city reflected that glow like a mirror. Civilians in the streets froze as the horizon lit up. They had seen footage of the Titan's weapons, but seeing it in person was different. The light felt alive, hungry. The shot came. A single beam struck from orbit, cutting through the atmosphere. With no resistance, the ground itself split apart. A line of molten rock stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Buildings crumbled into dust. The planet's main shipyard vanished in a burst of fire and steel. In the Council's war room, the live satellite feed cut to static. Admiral Vorkus Thane's last recorded transmission was nothing but static and a faint voice in the background saying, "It's not a battleship. It's an executioner." The Titan did not remain to finish the planet. It simply turned away, leaving Kael'tor burning behind it. Its engines flared once, and it continued its steady course toward the capital. The message was clear, and it was not just for Kael'tor. It was for the entire galaxy. The humans had no interest in negotiation, no interest in intimidation for its own sake. Every move was deliberate, every strike calculated. They were not here to talk, they were here to take. In the days that followed, smaller fleets refused orders to intercept. Captains resigned their commissions rather than face the Titan. Smugglers made fortunes transporting frightened civilians away from the capital. And still, the great black ship came on, unstoppable as the tide. Somewhere deep inside the council's most secure chamber, one voice finally broke the silence. "We waited too long," the counselor said. "Now we will pay for it." The capital system had never known true fear. For centuries, it had been the safest place in the galaxy, a star ringed with fleets, armed stations, and fortified moons. Its people believed no enemy could ever reach them. The council believed the same. But when word of Kael'tor's fall reached them, the illusion cracked. The reports were brutal in their simplicity. The Titan had entered the system, dismantled its defenses in under 2 minutes, destroyed the primary shipyard with one shot, and left without taking so much as a trophy. It was not conquest. It was a message carved into the surface of a world. The council chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from every major power sat in the great circular hall, their voices rising and colliding like waves in a storm. The towering screens above them played the same footage on repeat. The Kael'tor sky splitting with white fire, the shipyard erupting in a boiling cloud, the black silhouette of the Titan turning away like a judge leaving the gallows. "They will not stop," said Chancellor Velros of the Syrinx Dominion, his voice sharp. "You saw what they did to my fleet. You saw what they did to Kael'tor. If we do not act now, they will stand over this very chamber before the month is out." "They have not declared war," replied Councillor Drethy from the Chiron Assembly. "Perhaps we can still negotiate. We know nothing of their demands." "They have no demands," Velros snapped, slamming a clawed hand onto the desk. "They are not here for tribute or territory. They are here to prove something, and they are proving it in blood." The debate raged for hours. Military strategists presented proposals. Most involved committing every major fleet to a single defensive wall in the capital system's outer perimeter. Others spoke of surgical strikes against Earth itself, to cut off the threat at its source. The problem was distance. Even the fastest ships would take weeks to reach Earth, and the Titan was only days away. In a secure chamber deep beneath the council hall, the High Command of the Galactic Navy met without the politicians. Here, the language was colder, numbers replaced outrage. Data replaced speeches. Admiral Sareth, an older Thalian officer with 4 decades of battle scars, leaned over the holographic map of the capital system. The Titan's course was a bright white line cutting straight into the heart of their defenses. "If it keeps this speed," she said, "it will reach our outer ring in 6 standard days. That is not enough time to assemble the full armada." "We don't need the full armada," said Commander Veln of the Drass's Imperium. "We need something that can stop it, even if that means losing ships." "We don't know what can stop it," Sareth replied flatly. "Every engagement so far has ended in one-sided slaughter." Silence settled over the table. The officers knew the truth. They had no weapon designed for something like the Titan. In the long history of galactic warfare, no single ship had ever posed such a threat, because no one had ever believed a single ship could. A junior intelligence officer spoke up hesitant. "We do have something, not tested, but..." All eyes turned to her. She swallowed hard. "Project Eclipse. It's an experimental gravity weapon, designed to tear apart a ship's mass from the inside. The power requirements are enormous, and it's never been used in combat." "Where is it?" Sareth asked. "Stationed on the fortress moon of Varus Prime," the officer replied. 2 days from here by jump gate. That became the plan. A strike group would intercept the Titan near Varus Prime, lure it into range of the Eclipse. Weapon and fire. If it worked, the Titan would be destroyed before it ever reached the capital. If it failed, the galaxy would see their last hope vanish. while the military prepared. The civilians of the capital began to panic. Traffic swarmed the jump gates leading out of the system. Ships overloaded with passengers begged for departure clearance, private. Defense contractors offered protection at obscene prices. Black market smugglers did the same for those who couldn't afford it. Yet there were those who refused to leave. Out of pride, loyalty, or sheer disbelief, they stayed. Trusting the fleets to hold the line, after all, no one wanted to believe that a single human ship could burn the heart of the galaxy. Meanwhile, the Titan continued its slow, deliberate advance. Its silence made it impossible to read. To the military, this was maddening. An enemy that spoke no threats, made no demands, and gave away no weaknesses. The war planners tried to imagine what would happen if the Eclipse weapon failed. None of them liked the answer. On the Titan's bridge, Captain Arya Kane studied the latest scans of the capital system. She knew they were preparing something. You didn't gather that many ships in one place for decoration. But she also knew Earth had built the Titan for exactly this: to stare down the united fleets of the galaxy and keep moving. Her crew was ready. They were veterans of the ship's long and secret construction, trained for years in simulations of worst-case scenarios. They didn't speak of Kael'tor. They didn't speak of the Syrinx fleet. They only spoke of the next target, and the next, and the next. As the days passed and the capital system drew closer, the tension across the galaxy became almost physical. Fleets repositioned, armies prepared for evacuation or last stands. In hidden bunkers and military vaults, ancient weapons were brought out, weapons built for wars no one ever thought would happen again. In the council chamber, the political debate finally gave way to grim acceptance. There would be no negotiation, no peace talks, no compromises, whatever Earth's reasons. The Titan would either be destroyed, or it would rule the galaxy by fear. High command's orders went out across every secure channel. Vara's Prime will hold the line. The Eclipse weapon would be ready, and when the Titan arrived, they would fire, and somewhere, in the cold between the stars, the Titan sailed on, black against the light, knowing the trap ahead, but not slowing, not turning, not blinking. Asterisk. Titan glided through the void, a black spear against a field of stars. Its engines whispered with steady power, the soundless hum of a predator that never needed to rest. To those watching from distant scanners, it looked like nothing could move. Nothing could turn it aside. Inside, the air was tense but calm. The crew worked in near silence, speaking only when necessary. Every officer knew their role. Every system was checked and rechecked. The Titan was not just a warship, it was the result of 2 centuries of planning, built in secrecy under oceans, in hidden shipyards on airless moons, in the dark corners of human ambition. Captain Arya Kane stood at the center of the command deck. Her posture was straight, her gaze fixed on the forward display. She had fought in smaller conflicts before, pirate raids, border skirmishes, but nothing like this. This was not a battle for territory or resources. This was a statement, a rewriting of the galaxy's balance of power. Behind her, Commander Hayes monitored the sensor feed. The alien fleets were gathering ahead. Their signatures lit up the holomap like fireflies in a storm. "They're preparing something," he said quietly. Kane didn't look away from the display. "Of course. They are. We've given them no other choice." Hayes hesitated. "Intel says the fortress moon ahead, Vara's Prime, holds an experimental weapon. Gravity-based, never tested in combat." Kane finally turned. "Gravity-based?" Her voice was almost curious, not afraid. "Then they'll learn something about gravity today." In the lower decks, engineers moved among the great heart of the ship. The Titan's reactors pulsed like the heartbeat of a giant, bathing the dark metal walls in a faint red glow. Chief Engineer Sato inspected one of the power conduits leading to the forward cannons. He had served on warships for 30 years, but he still felt a thrill every time he walked these corridors. The Titan was alive in a way other ships were not. "You think they'll use that new weapon on us?" one of his junior techs asked. Sato didn't stop his work. They will, and when they do, they'll wish they hadn't. Elsewhere, in the ship's crew quarters, there was little talk. Most of the Titan's crew understood the mission, but didn't know the deeper history. They didn't need to. They had been trained to follow orders, to trust the ship and the captain. But there were moments, in the quiet between drills, when the reality settled in. They were sailing into the combined firepower of the galaxy's greatest fleets, and they were not turning back. Kane's private quarters were Spartan, no trophies, no family photos, just a desk with a secure terminal and a single old Earth flag folded neatly on top. She sat there now, reviewing mission logs. Not the recent ones, but the old files, the first proposals for the Titan's construction, the intelligence reports on alien weapons, the classified history of Earth's humiliation under the Council's rule. She remembered the day she was told about the Titan. For the first time, she had been a young lieutenant, stationed on a mining vessel in the outer belt. A senior officer had called her into a sealed room and told her about a project so secret it didn't officially exist. A project that would change humanity forever. The Titan wasn't just a warship, it was revenge made real. In the war room of the Galactic High Command, the plans for Varus Prime were taking shape. Admiral Sareth stood at the head of the table, pointing to the projected firing arc of the Eclipse weapon. The Titan will have to pass through here, she said. We'll lure it in by allowing a clear path through the outer defenses. Once it's within range, the weapon fires. The gravity surge should tear it apart from the inside out. Should, Commander Valn repeated. And if it doesn't? Then we hit it with everything we have, Sareth said flatly. And prey on the moon itself. The Eclipse weapon was being brought online. It was a monstrous construct, its surface bristling with control towers and magnetic coils the size of skyscrapers. Deep inside its core, a sphere of exotic matter rotated within a containment field, bending space around it in subtle, unnatural ways. The engineers there had never tested it against something as large as the Titan, but they knew one thing: if it failed, they would be the first to die, back aboard the Titan. The atmosphere shifted as Varus Prime came into view. From this distance, it was a pale rock haloed by rings of defensive satellites. The ship's scanners picked up the faint distortions of the Eclipse weapon's containment field. Kane studied it without blinking. They'll be expecting us to turn back, Hayes said. Kane smiled faintly. Then we won't give them that comfort. She ordered the crew to battle stations. The low thrum of the engines deepened as the Titan prepared for engagement. Weapons bays opened along its flanks, missile pods rotated into launch position, and the great forward cannon began to charge. The alien fleets ahead began to move, not to attack, but to funnel the Titan toward Varus Prime. Kane let them. It was the trap they had set, and she intended to walk right into it, inside the Titan's gunnery control. Targeting officers locked onto the nearest defensive stations. On your command, Captain, one said over comms. Kane's voice was steady. Hold fire until they show their hand. Every second brought them closer. The Eclipse weapon's magnetic coils began to glow on the moon's surface. The containment field swelled, reality itself seeming to ripple around it. On the moon's command deck, technicians called out readings in frantic voices. The weapon was charging faster than ever before. Kane could feel it too, not physically, but in the way her instruments strained to read the distortions ahead. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. So this is the best they have, she murmured, and the Titan sailed on, black and silent, toward the heart of the galaxy's trap. Asterisk, the void around Varus Prime shimmered like a heat haze. The Eclipse weapon was fully charged now, its containment field stretching far beyond the moon's surface, warping the path of light itself. To any pilot approaching, it looked like the stars were bending away in fear. The Titan came in slow, deliberate, ignoring the fleets shifting around it. Alien ships of every design, needle-thin Syrinx interceptors, bulky Drass's war cruisers, Kirin torpedo frigates, moved into their positions. They did not close in. Not yet. They wanted the trap to work. In the moon's command chamber, Admiral Sareth stood over the firing console. Hands gripping the edge. "Hold," she said to her weapon officer. "Let it come closer." Inside the Titan, the crew felt the strange pull of the eclipse field. It wasn't violent, not yet, but enough to make their instruments behave strangely. Compasses spun, readings flickered, and the navigation AI had to be manually overridden. On the command deck, Kane studied the forward display. She could see the fleets forming the wall. Could see the faint halo of the moon in the distance. "They want us in a narrow corridor," Hayes reported. "Good," Kane replied. Narrow corridors work both ways. The Titan's hull groaned as the gravity distortion increased. It was like sailing into an invisible storm. Hull plates shifted slightly, the black scales overlapping tighter. The ship's adaptive armor was already reacting to the unseen threat. "Contact," Hazes said suddenly. A Karen torpedo frigate broke formation, launching a spread of magnetic warheads. The torpedoes spun in graceful arcs, aiming to catch the Titan before it reached the moon's kill zone. Kane didn't even order a response. The ship's point defense systems activated on their own, spearing each torpedo in mid-flight with precision laser bursts. The explosions lit the dark, brief and distant, but the fleets ahead were done waiting. A wall of fire erupted as dozens of ships unleashed plasma cannons, railguns, and particle beams. The space between the Titan and its enemies became a tunnel of light. The Titan's shields flared, not as a glowing dome, but as a rippling distortion that bent the incoming shots. Some rounds curved away entirely. Others disintegrated mid-air, as if hitting invisible stone. A few made contact, but the hull absorbed them without slowing. "Multiple targets locked," reported Gunnery Chief Voss. "Return fire," Kane said. The Titan's guns bloomed to life from its flanks and belly. Hidden panels slid away to reveal weapons that glowed like the embers of a dying star. Beams lanced outward, each one precise, each one ending in an alien ship vanishing in a burst of white heat. But even as enemy vessels fell, the Titan was drawing closer to the moon. The Eclipse weapons core roared with silent power. Inside its containment sphere, space folded tighter and tighter until the very fabric of reality screamed. "Target in range," the weapon officer on Varas Prime announced. Sareth gave the order without hesitation. Fire. It was not light or sound that struck the Titan. It was gravity, raw and unnatural. Invisible waves slammed into the ship. Hull plates shuddered, metal groaned. The distortion grabbed at the Titan from all sides, trying to crush it inward and tear it apart from within. On the Titan's bridge, alarms flared red. The artificial gravity inside the ship warped and twisted, pulling crew sideways. Panels sparked, power readings dipped. For the first time since entering alien space, the Titan slowed. "Compensate!" Kane shouted. Sato and engineering diverted every spare watt into the Titan's adaptive hull systems. The armor began to shift, its overlapping plates sliding into a new formation. Energy was redirected along hidden channels that pulsed with a deep, red glow. On Varas Prime, the weapon operators stared at the readings in disbelief. The Titan wasn't breaking apart, it was adapting. The gravity field meant to tear it to shreds was instead being absorbed, redirected, and neutralized. "Increase power." Sareth barked. The Eclipse core swelled, its containment field straining dangerously. Warning klaxons screamed across the moon's control deck. If they pushed further, they risked the weapon collapsing inward and taking the entire moon with it. Kane stood unmoving as the ship's systems screamed around her. Her voice was calm. "Bring the main gun to bear on Varas Prime." The Titan's prow weapon began charging. Its light was cold, white, and unnatural. It was a light that did not belong to anything peaceful. On the moon, the realization hit them too late. The Eclipse weapon could not fire again before the Titan's shot landed. The beam hit. There was no explosion at first, just silence then. The core of the Eclipse weapon collapsed. The moon rippled as if turning liquid, then burst outward in a blossom of fire and shattered rock. Fleets around the Titan froze in shock. Their trap, their most powerful weapon, had just been erased in seconds. Kane gave the order, "Keep moving. Do not engage further unless fired upon." The Titan turned away from the debris field. Behind it, what was once Vera's Prime was now only a drifting cloud of molten rock and twisted metal. In the Council's war room, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, Chancellor Velros broke the silence. It was supposed to be impossible. He said quietly, "And yet, here we are." The fleet scattered. Some retreated toward the capital, others fled entirely. The path ahead was now open, and the Titan sailed forward. Nothing stood between it and the heart of the galaxy. Asterisk. The capital system loomed ahead, a crown of light wrapped around a brilliant yellow star. Its planets shone with the glint of cities, orbital rings, and defense stations, the pride of the Galactic Council for generations. No enemy fleet had even crossed its outer lines. The very idea of a foreign warship entering this space had been unthinkable. Until now, the Titan emerged from the jump corridor like a shadow poured into the void. Its black hull drank in the starlight. Its weapons bays closed, as if it were simply passing through. But the fleets waiting ahead knew better. They had seen Kale Tor burn. They had seen Vara's Prime shatter. And they knew this was no traveler. The gathered armada was the largest in living memory. Thousands of ships from every major species, layered in defensive rings around the capital world. Colossal dreadnoughts floated alongside swarms of fast interceptors. Carrier groups hung in the shadows of fortified moons. Even the ancient orbital defense platforms, relics from wars long past, had been reactivated. The entire system bristled with guns. From the bridge of the Titan, Captain Arya Kane studied the tactical readouts. The display painted the enemy fleet as a sea of red, stretching across the horizon of space. "They've brought everything they have," Commander Hayes said quietly. Kane's expression didn't change. "Good," she replied. "It means we don't have to hunt them down later." In the capital's high command tower, Admiral Sareth stood before a wall of holoscreens. Her voice carried through every fleet channel. "This is our stand. We cannot allow that ship to reach orbit. All squadrons, maintain formation. Target its engines and weapons. Cripple it if you can. Destroy it if you must." The first shots came from the outer ring. Long-range particle lances speared the darkness. Missile barrages bloomed like metal flowers in the void. Every gun that could fire did. The Titan shields shimmered with their strange, ripple-like distortion, bending beams away and swallowing missiles whole. It plowed forward, unshaken. Then its own guns came to life. Beams of blinding white carved through the outer ring like blades through paper. Entire cruisers winked out in bursts of light. Interceptor wings scattered under precise bursts of flak fire. The Titan didn't waste shots. Every round found a target. Every beam struck something vital. The battle became a storm. Alien fleets surged in from all sides. The space around the Titan lit up with the fury of 1,000 suns. But the ship moved like a predator in the water, turning its guns from one target to the next. It was not invincible. Some shots managed to strike the armor, leaving glowing scars, but nothing slowed it. Inside the Titan, the crew worked in perfect synchrony. Damage teams sealed hull breaches in seconds. Engineers rerouted power from damaged sections without waiting for orders in the gunnery bays. Targeting crews worked like surgeons. Every time a lock was confirmed, another enemy ship died. A massive Dros's Imperium battleship charged from the flank, its prow lit with the fire of a ramming drill. It never reached its target. A single shot from the Titan's forward gun split it in two. The halves drifted apart, venting fire and atmosphere into the void in the capital's orbit. Civilian evacuation ships fled under escort. Families pressed against windows, watching the battle as flashes of destruction lit the distant darkness. They didn't know if they would ever see their homeworld again. The inner ring of defenses began to break. Moons armed with heavy rail batteries fell silent one by one. The Titan carved a path straight toward the capital world. Every alien commander knew they were losing. Every moment they failed to stop it brought the ship closer. Desperation turned the fight into chaos. Ships rammed the Titan in suicidal charges, detonating their cores in blinding bursts. The impacts rocked the battleship. Alarms screamed. Decks shook. But when the fire cleared, the Titan still moved. Slower now, but unstoppable, on the command deck. Kane wiped blood from her cheek where a console had exploded. "Forward batteries, full power," she ordered. "If they want to die in front of their world, let's give them the chance." The last defensive line collapsed in a storm of light and debris. The Titan broke through into low orbit above the capital. Below, the planet glittered with sprawling cities and shining oceans. Above, the few surviving defense ships hovered like frightened insects, too damaged to fight, too proud to flee. Kane opened a channel to the capital. Her voice carried in perfect, cold clarity across every frequency. "You took from us. You ruled us. You told us we were small, weak, forgettable. Now we stand over your world." She cut the transmission and gave the final order. "Target the Council Spire." From the Titan's prow, the main gun fired. The beam pierced the atmosphere in a heartbeat. The spire, the heart of the Galactic Council, shattered in an instant. The blast rolled outward, leveling districts, silencing the chamber where the galaxy's rulers had sat for centuries. Silence fell. No fleet remained to answer, no weapon left to fire. The Titan hung in orbit, black against the burning world. On every surviving world, in every surviving fleet, the message was the same. Earth was no longer a forgotten planet. It was the new power in the galaxy, and its shadow would stretch across the stars for generations to come.